Big trade story of the morning that's moving markets. President Trump has agreed to a limited trade agreement with Beijing that would roll back existing tariff rates on Chinese goods and cancel the new tariffs that were set to take effect on Sunday. In exchange, China will reportedly boost purchases of U.S. farm goods and obtain other concessions. The Phase 1 deal reportedly includes a snapback provision that would reimpose tariffs if Beijing fails to make the purchases it has agreed to. And we want to get to Eunice Yoon right now in Beijing with reaction in China on all of this. Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. I think what's interesting is that there hasn't been much reaction at all. The official state media has said nothing about this trade deal, and the foreign ministry only commented saying that a deal needed to be mutually beneficial. So I spoke to one government source who's close to the trade talks, and he said that there's some hesitation on the part of the Beijing leadership because of the concern about the hard targets for agricultural purchases. And that is that the hard targets could in some way hem in the Chinese and force them into a situation where they'd be in conflict with other trading partners who would see this as what's been described to me as a reallocation of purchases and then eventually lead Beijing into more challenges at the WTO. Secondly, there's concern that President Trump, because of the U.S. politics and the campaign, would eventually reimpose tariffs on China anyway, and that China could then be stuck with large purchases or contracts for these purchases of American products, but also get hit with these tariffs. So those are some of the main concerns that people have, and one of the reasons why at this point the officials here aren't quite sure the best course of action. However, it was also pointed out to me many times in conversations today that at the end of the day, the Communist Party does derive its legitimacy from the economy. So there is a belief that there are reasons, economic reasons, why President Xi Jinping would want to sign off on this Phase 1 trade deal, because there is an understanding that that could lift the stock markets, but also some of the uncertainty over the economy here.
I mean, you're gonna use the soybeans. You got to buy them somewhere, and the pigs. There's nothing about IP. I don't know the famous other issues. I don't know what other issues means, but I doubt it means suddenly there's going to be no more IP issues and all the other intractable issues for Phase 2 and Phase 3 and Phase 4. This is just buying some stuff, which makes me think, when you see
this is just détente.
I know, you see, but it seems like taking off the tariffs would be a pretty good deal for China. But the Navarro stuff and Lighthizer and Jim Cramer and Steve Bannon, this shows you how are we going to ever get that other stuff if they're sort of backtracking on even buying stuff that you're going to use just because you're worried about the people that you're not buying it from anymore. This is really tough. It's tough.
Eunice, I have to say, in this, it's been raised that China has been concerned that it wouldn't be in compliance with WTO regulations if it agreed to this, which is kind of sharp in the irony of that, right? Like, this is the first time we care about WTO
that's
compliance.
Exactly what they've been. Yeah, no, that's exactly what they've been saying. And this one a source in the government had told me that there is concern that they would be not compliant with
they don't care about the other
WTO
they're not
regulations,
in terms
and that's
of WTO
something that.
With?
Well, that's what probably folks in Washington would say, but in China, and especially within the government, they believe that they are compliant with WTO regulations and that they don't do anything wrong. Joe had mentioned the forced technology transfers. Again, that has not been acknowledged. It's something that China actually does. There is some discussion that the protection of IPR would be in this Phase 1 agreement, but from my understanding, it's not some of the heavy lifting, and very difficult discussions over forced technology transfers, but instead more pledges to protect intellectual property rights, which is something that China has already been doing. So in terms of a Phase 2 or a Phase 3, I'm sure you guys are finding this as well. I'm very hard pressed to find anyone over here that believes that this Phase 2 and Phase 3 are actually going to happen. Beijing, though, would be happy about a tariff rollback, Becky, as you were talking about.
Well,
it's just that they would be happy about having that delayed.